So same graph paper. Go to write number 2. Go to write graph x equals -3. Go to write that for number 2 on the same note paper that you have for your warm up. Go to write number 2. X equals -3. X equals -3. Number 2 on your graph paper. So now, notice the difference of this equation versus the one we've been doing. In other words, notice number 1 from warm-up. How does this one differ from the first equation on warm-up? What's going on here? That compared to that. What's the main difference? There's no y. There's only one variable. So whenever there's one variable, these become very special kind of lines, which is what I want to go over right now. It's that you don't see an x and a y. You only see an x. So that's what this is. So this is what this is saying. Check it out. We're still going to make our x and y chart, step 1, as normal. But watch this. Instead of picking an x value, notice they're telling me what the x values are. X is always going to be -3. So in this kind of case, you can't just pick x values. It's telling me what x is always going to be. X is -3. So on your table, go write -3, -3, -3 for me. Do that. Right? But the y values we can pick. So in this kind of case, we pick y values, any y value that we want. In other words, whatever floats your boat. Make life easy for yourself. I like -1, 0, and 1. Yes, Mr. Reynoso.
I'll wait.
Okay. All right, here we go. So x is always -3. Y is going to be -1, 0, and 1. Right? Here we go. Now we're ready to rock and roll. Let's go and plot our points. Let me get my graph paper out. Here we go. Go to make another x and y axis if you have any space. If you need more space, let me know. I got some more graph paper. Notice the kind of line that's going to be formed here. So notice the kind of line. Here we go. -3, -1. -3, -1. -3, 0. I got -3, 1. Notice no y variable, so we end up having a perfectly vertical line with no slant at all, no slope. Think of what we just did for warm-up. Look at the example for warm-up. That line was slanted, had slope, which we're going to get into next week. Here, when there's no y variable, x is by itself, you're dealing with a perfectly straight vertical line wherever that number is on the x-axis. So that's vertical line. Okay, that's the moral of the story now. No y value, they're telling me what x is always going to be, so in this case, I just pick any y values I want. Okay, underneath that one, let's go example 3. If you need more graph paper, let me know. Example 3. We're going to graph now. Watch this. I got you. Instead of x equals -3, watch this. Y is -5. Let's graph this puppy. I'll come around and give you some graph paper if you need some more. I got you, got you. So we're going to write example 3. Y equals -5. Good, good. Good. Can you do this? After this, everything. Here we go, here we go. Y is -5. Let's make our table of values. Step 1. Here we go. Here, in this case, they're telling me what Y is always going to be. I'm not going to make it up, in other words. They're telling me Y is always -5, so I'll make it -5. Cool. X, however, we're going to start picking some values for X. Remember, make life easy for yourself. -1, 0, 1, that's cool with me. You pick your favorite numbers, whatever floats your boat. Here we go. Let me get my graph paper out. So on this one, go ahead and graph this next example on the same coordinate plane you just did for example 2 if you want. Or you can make another one, it's up to you. So let's go and graph these. Let's see what kind of line this creates now. Benya, stay with me. -1, -5. Let's plot that one. -1, -5 is right here. I got 0, -5. Look at the line that's forming now. As opposed to vertical now, when X is alone, right, Rodriguez? Y is alone. Look at the line that's forming. So we got 1, -5 now. 1, -5. We got a perfectly straight horizontal line. Notice that. So moral of the story. Rojas, here we go. Rocha, here we go. X alone, vertical. Y alone, horizontal. Both X and Y, we got slope. Okay? Last example. Here we go. So that was example 3 for the warm-up here. Here's example 4. There we go. Y minus 2 equals -X minus 3. Going to write Y minus 2 equals -X minus 3. Here we have X and Y. Going to write graph. Y minus 2 equals -X minus 3. Last example. Come on, baby, stay with me. There we go.
Need more paper.
Got you. Y minus 2 equals -X minus 3. There we go. Stay with me. Come on. Last example. Now, here we have X and Y. That's last example, like we've been doing. But before I start picking values for X, remember the ones that make life easy for ourselves? What I want to do first is I want to get Y by itself. Because that'll make life easy for us, and it'll make the obtaining the Y values more efficient. Because right now, if I start picking values for X and plugging it in, I'll have to start getting Y by itself afterwards, and it's going to just take more work and take more time. It'll be more tedious. So to start off, what I want to do is get Y alone, and then start picking values of X. This way I'll have Y equals, and I'll have all the work to do on the right side. So I'm thinking of something to do to both sides of the equation to get Y alone. One more time. Perfect. Notice Mr. Rojas is doing the inverse of subtraction. So I'm going to add 2 to both sides. Perfect. To the left, to the right. We're getting it by itself. We've been doing that the whole month, right? Excuse me. Here we go. Rodriguez, stay with me. And bring on the equals. Watch what happens. Y is alone. That's what I want. I got a -X. What does that mean? What's the coefficient of the X? Thank you. -1, right? -1X. I'm going to write that there because I'm going to end up plugging in values for X shortly. So I'm already reminding myself that really means negative 1 times x. And I got a negative 3 plus 2. Help. Negative 1. Cool. So I can put plus negative 1 or minus 1. All right, we're ready to rock and roll. Now, y is alone. Now I'm ready to start picking some values for x with my table of values. You can pick your favorite number or whatever you want. I like negative 1, 0, and 1. Stay with me, Pena. Last one. Here we go. First x value in line, negative 1. Here we go. So y then is negative 1 times negative 1 minus 1. Add Sally. Multiply before we subtract, right? So it's going to be, let's say, negative 1 times negative 1.
0.
Close. That's if we're adding those puppies. It's negative 1 times negative 1. Awesome.
Why?
Oh, you're going all the way. I was asking this. Thank you, Miss Wilkerson. You're right. 1 minus 1 is 0. So y is 0. We're rocking and rolling. There's our first ordered pair we're going to plot shortly.
There you go.
Next one. Here we go. X is 0 now. Negative 1 times, let me talk please. I got the floor please. Thank you. Negative 1 times 0 minus 1. Again, add Sally. We multiply before we subtract. That's going to be anything times 0 is 0. 0 minus 1. Help. Awesome. There's our second order pair. Last but not least. Last but not least is 1. So here we go. Negative 1 times 1 minus 1. 1 times 1 is 1. Signs are different. So I know it's going to be a negative 1 here. Minus 1. Careful. Nice. This is a plus negative 1. So negative 1 plus negative 2. We're ready to rock and roll. Let me get my graph paper out. Here we go. Let's plot these puppies. All right, here we go. We got negative 1, 0. Negative 1, 0. I got 0, negative 1. I got 1, negative 2. I draw a line for those puppies. I put arrows indicating infinity. All the solutions of an equation. There's our line. Now, before I give you a break,